last night I was at the newly built Hydro Arena for the TNA Impact Wrestling live tapings in Glasgow, Scotland. See, I have my hat there that I bought. That cost me £15. It's actually decent quality. I also got for £10 the programme, and it's actually quite a large programme. It's that size. That is quite a large programme, which I thought is big poster-sized pictures and a little bit you see there about weights, heights, where they are, where they're from, and just their social media, Twitter handles, their Twitter names. You see there, a couple of them good. And you can also see my ticket there. Just to again show you I was there. I've also got pictures and I've got some video. I might upload them in the next couple of days if people want me to. Right, well, so what was the actual show like? Well, it was my first TNA show, my first major American wrestling company show. As I said at the end of my last video, I had no real expectations. I thought I would go there, just enjoy it for what it is, and see what happens, see what it's like. To be honest, I actually enjoyed it. Seeing some of the guys in TNA that I wanted to see wrestle was fantastic. Obviously, it was going to be shown, and it was shown last night. I don't actually believe that we were finished the filming of the first episode when the first episode actually started to air on Challenge TV. I might be a little bit wrong about this, but I don't think we were quite finished according to the time, and according to what I've taken my notes from, my pictures and my videos that I've taken to do this video. I don't think we were quite finished, so TNA absolutely had a lot of work on their hands, and it was really done well. The show was stop and start. It was obviously set up as they wanted it taped, so it was quite stop and start after several segments. There was like a break. Christy Hemme, who was the announcer, was also really the host of the show, of the whole night, so she was keeping the crowd geared up, giving away hats. Unfortunately I had to pay for mine, but she was giving away hats and foam fingers, a couple of bits of merchandise, and really keeping the crowd going, talking to the crowd, keeping them involved. And Jeremy Borash, who was on the announce team with Mike Tenay, and it was great to finally get to see Mike Tenay in person. He also continued to talk to the fans several times. It was a really, to be honest, it was a good show. Now I'll run through the segments. Obviously, last night, 9 p.m. and repeated, I believe, this Sunday at 9 p.m. Is the first episode, and then I think a week this Sunday is the second episode from Glasgow that was taped last night. And I know they're taping, I think, more Impact or something tonight in Manchester. They're, as I speak, as I record this, still be underway with their show there. Obviously, people like Magnus, Dixie, EC3, and certainly Rockstar Spud were booed heavily. The audio, I watched the Magnus promo and the Magnus promo only. That's the one that opens the show from last night. I've only watched that because I didn't want to do this video before I watched the whole program. But they were absolutely booed. Dixie only appeared a couple of times. She was roundly booed. Spud and Magnus were booed so loud they were drowned out. Especially when Magnus said that Scotland was England's B team. There was a huge chance of Scotland, to the point where we couldn't really hear him. So it's obviously great audio technology from TNA and Impact Wrestling. Know that you can actually hear him loud and clear on the promo. The matches, as I said, were the matches were short and simple. Different to what I'm actually used to of the Scottish wrestling shows that I go to. Obviously, though, they're not laid out for TV as these were. You know, television these days works in 15-minute segments. The first match of the night was Gail Kim and Lady Tapa versus Velvet Sky and Madison Rain and the Beautiful People, reuniting the first time in a couple of years. Then we had, of course, a bit of Sabin and Velvet Sky. Then it was Gunnar and James Storm doing another segment. There's quite a few segments and quite a few long-running segments by the time the guys entered, started speaking, put their points across that they were meant put across. Some of the segments went on a little bit, so it's quite segment heavy first episode. Then also what a good tag team match. I enjoyed it. Gunner and Storm versus Daniels and Kazarian. Bad Influence. These were some of the guys that I wanted to see. James Storm, Christopher Daniels, absolutely wanted to see him. Who was really hoping that he would wrestle, and thankfully he did. Absolutely decent tag team match. I thought that there was a few people I wanted to see, and these were three of the guys that I wanted to see. Now, we also then had the Rockstar Spud being beat down by the Wolves. We had actually also a decent tag match with Abyss teaming with Eric Young, another guy. I was not sure whether Eric Young was going to be on the tour because I know he's got a lot of other commitments, but seeing Abyss and Eric Young was one of the moments, especially Abyss coming down the aisle to his old music. I don't know what it's like on the TV show, but it was his old music, I think, that he used last night. It certainly sounded like his old music. The audio was good. It's the crowd cheering and everything. I thought it seemed like his old music, but seeing Abyss come down and seeing him wrestle with Eric Young against Bromance, it was a good match. Bromance, obviously, TNA have got some of these guys who are really young, quite inexperienced on the big stage, at least. So it was obviously it's a bit, it was a wee bit slow in their reaction. Obviously, it takes time to build up the experience of these guys. Then it was a segment with the Wolves outside the people carrier. They had the door open and speaking to the investor. Actually, several times, both JB and Christy Hemme and the American Wolves, when we got like the promos, it was different because a couple of times they said it was the investor. A couple of times it said the investors, and they want this, or he wants this. Obviously trying to muddy the waters, but it was. Sometimes it was a single person they were alluding to. Sometimes it was a couple of people they were alluding to. And like I said, that was one of the few segments that we actually got on the screen that we could actually see up there. Most of the time, it was for some reason, I don't know why. Whatever the reason, it was mostly audio. We just got, you had to listen carefully. I didn't even catch some of the audio parts as well because I will. That's obviously one of the reasons I have to watch the entire show to actually watch the whole segments. Obviously, you could recognise voices. I've been a TNA fan since the start. I know the voices when I hear them, so I could, you could tell who was speaking. Sometimes you couldn't quite get what they were hearing because the crowd, like I said, the crowd were great. Christy Hemme, JB, Jeremy Borash, they kept the crowd up for it, but then again, I think the crowd were hungry for it anyway. Even before the start of the show, there was loads of chants and woos going around the Hydro. Then we had Bully Ray bringing down a coffin and ended up having a fight with Mr. Anderson. After Bully Ray obviously made remarks about his wife, so this is all still on the programme that aired last night. Then we had I thought this was a decent tag team match. Kurt Angle and Samoa Joe, another two of the guys that I really hoped were wrestling, and they did, versus Magnus, TNA World Champion, and EC3. If Angle and Joe lost, they would have been gone from TNA permanently. I knew they couldn't lose, surely, because what they're going to do for the rest of the tour, twiddle their thumbs? No, I didn't think so. Me and Sean, my friend who I was with, we both thought, that cannot be what happened. They can't lose, surely. But they managed to get the victory. A decent tag team match, like I said. Even Magnus and EC3, obviously they're still young guys. Magnus has actually come a long way from the type of wrestler that he was when he started in TNA in the British Invasion, and alongside the likes of Doug Williams. He's improved. He's still got a long way to go, though, in my opinion. I'm not going to sit here and criticise people's wrestling skills. I'm not. If it sounds like I am, and really put a downer on them and say, they're rubbish, they're horrible. I'm not trying to do that. What I'm honestly saying, so some of the guys like Magnus, EC3, the Bromance, they they still need some, especially the EC3 and the Bromance. They need experience, and it'll take time for them to have the experience that they need to improve their in-ring skills. So that I'll say I'm not a wrestler though. It just takes experience, a long time to gain the experience you need to really continue to improve your performance. After that tag team match, Dixie came out. I never really got a great picture of Dixie Carter, unfortunately, because of the way the ring was set up, and the tall people in front of us, 5 rows back, she never actually went into the ring at all, which is a bit of a pity. I would love to have got a great picture of her in the Impact Wrestling ring, but she came out, demanded to know who was the secret investor, and of course we all know it turned out to be MVP. So that was the end of the taping of the first episode. We then had a match taped for Explosion, their Explosion pay-per-view program. It was ODB, who Shan, my friend, was really hoping to see, and she faced out. I didn't even realise she was going to be there. This was like one of the bonus points of the last night. She faced Alpha Female. Yes, Alpha Female, one of Europe's top female wrestlers. Alpha Female. Now, I'm not entirely sure whether Alpha Female has actually wrestled in TNA before, but she's always. I know. I've met and I know a few of the female Scottish wrestlers. Viper, Nikki Storm. I also know like Debbie Sharp and Sami Zayn, etc. And both Nikki and Viper have said, how good Alpha Female is, and I'd never seen her in person before. Obviously, I'd seen some stuff on YouTube, and she's a really good female wrestler from Germany. She is absolutely fantastic, and she took on ODB. It was a typical power versus power matchup. ODB is this, really physical, large woman, powerful, roughhouse woman, and it was the same versus the same. Big, powerful women going up against each other, trying to outmuscle each other. There was a good shoulder barge bit. It was a really good match, I thought. The end ruined it a little bit for me. I would like to see a clean winner, but it was a really good match. Looking forward, I would love to check on my EPG when Explosion is, so I can re-watch that match. It was really good. And then we had Austin Aries come out and proclaim himself this is the second episode of Impact now. There's only a couple of bits that I can tell you about this second episode, but there had Austin Aries come out with the X Division title, proclaim himself to be the X Division champion that will yet again cash in contendership to the world title and claim the world title. Zema Ion then came in and tried to cashed in his X Division title Feast or Fire briefcase, which led to an impromptu match for Zema Ion against Austin Aries. We then had a surprise experience. Now, I am actually glad. I'm not giving everything away for the second episode, but that we had then a surprise appearance. Now, I didn't know he was going to be there. I didn't even think going there that he might be making an appearance. But I was so glad he did. I'm really happy that this guy appeared. I knew he was back. I knew he was there in TNA, but I didn't think he was going to appear. And I know some people may think, who is it? Curryman. Curryman actually made an appearance, and I have a good video of this. But he actually came out. Curryman, he's got the mask. Unfortunately, they wouldn't sell like Curryman mask, but I'm going to have to see where I can get one when I get money, if there's any available. But he actually came out. He's got like a small rice bowl on his mask, as a little cap thing. Over it, he was actually wearing a Scotland tartan bonnet, a tartan hat. The tartan hat with the bonnet. It wasn't a CU Jimmy wig. A CU Jimmy wig is a tartan round hat with lots of ginger hair. Obviously, it's not real hair, but ginger hair, fake ginger hair attached to it. He was just simply wearing the bonnet, which is absolutely hilarious to see him come out. Also, taking a little bit of film, and I've got a little bit of film of him dancing with the Scottish bonnet on his hat, on his head, or on top of his mask anyway. It was absolutely funny to see him with a Scottish bonnet, a Scottish hat on top of his mask. That was hilarious. I think you could hear me laughing a little bit, but it's absolutely fantastic to see that. Unfortunately, he then got beat down by Bully Ray and put into the coffin. That Bully Ray brought out again. But it was a hilarious moment and fantastic moment to see Curryman. Christopher Daniels, I'll say it. I said it there to a couple of people. We ended up talking to the couple of guys in front who actually recognised me from the YouTube channel. And by the way, I forgot meant to do this at the start. If you did say hi to me, because a few people actually recognise me from doing these YouTube videos. If you did speak to me and recognise me from the YouTube, hello. I hope you enjoyed the event. It was before the event, travelling to the event. I couldn't stick around because we were a large group of us and we had to find a place to go in because there was a couple of different bits that we were in. So we were kind of separated group at the event. But hello to you. I hope you all enjoyed the show. And it's honestly, I got recognised at least 4 times. 4 times! I couldn't believe it. The young boy on the train, and a couple going there, and another couple halfway up, and then another couple of people at the show recognised me. Then we had a great Abyss Eric Young Monsters Ball match. This was made in the first episode where Eric Young, after the tag match, when Abyss chokeslammed them, said, you want to get crazy? I'll go crazy next week. Monsters Ball match. We were absolutely cheering like crazy when Abyss started nodding his head in the entranceway to agree to this match, because we all knew 2 episodes being taped, we will see it tonight. And luckily that was one of the matches I saw before we had to leave. It was an unbelievable match. I've got the ending of that match on video. I said I might upload the video actually in the next few days. Absolutely crazy. Absolutely crazy. Another Abyss crazy moment. I honestly can't wait till next week when TNA actually shows the second episode. Is a unbelievable match, a really good match. One of the matches of the night, it was one of the bonus things. I thought, great, I'll see at least a couple of these guys wrestle, but to see the Monsters Ball match, which started actually backstage, that was one of the few bits we saw on the screen, them fighting. It was supposedly backstage. I'm not entirely. I've never been backstage at the Hydro. But I was supposed to be backstage, and then they fought out onto the rampway, and then really started the match. But that was a really unbelievable ending to that match. Even that's one thing I would suggest if you're going to watch the second episode of TNA Impact Wrestling in Glasgow. Keep an eye on the Monsters Ball match, especially at the end. Right near the end. The matches were short, so it doesn't go that long, the match. Maybe it's just me enjoying it, I don't know, but it seemed to me the matches were quite short. Keep an eye on the end of the match and keep watching after the match. There's a really good bit. I think I've got that on the video, but it's a little bit, but keep an eye on it. It's a really good moment, I thought. Now, this was almost to the point where, unfortunately, we had to leave, because we had to leave a bit early, me and Sean, to get the bus back to Dundee, because of the last bus. And we really don't have the money to stay over in Glasgow, unfortunately. But after in the first episode, MVP was unveiled as the investor. He then addressed the crowd in the ring, spoke about changes. I've got a little bit of that on video as well. Then after that was a decent non-title match, Magnus versus Kurt Angle, which MVP said he had made for tonight. There was then apparently a bit with MVP beating down Spud, but I'm not really sure what the roundup of the second episode will be. I think that was it, like MVP facing down and beating down Spud, because Spud was there when appeared just after MVP made his address on that second episode, and he was, MVP told him not to touch him after he had his Spud. After Spud had his hand on his shoulder, he was like, but kept hitting him, keep hitting on the shoulder and kept his hand there. MVP kept looking at him. He told him to get his hand off his shoulder, I think, once, but then Spud put his hand back in. I don't know exactly what led up and what exactly will end the second episode, because that was at the point just after the Magnus versus Kurt Angle match. I had to unfortunately leave to get that bus, but I don't think it said. I think all of me missed was MVP beating down Spud, really, to end the show. But overall, it was a really good show. As I said, my first TNA show. I enjoyed it for the experience what it is. I know actually there was a lot of Scottish wrestlers there, like Grado, Wolfgang, Mikey Whiplash was there, Damon O'Connor, Nikki Storm, Jam O'Malley, I know a few of the Scottish Wrestling Entertainment guys were there, Mr. News, Braveheart, David was there, Jamie Stewart, the SWE photographer and graphic designer of Desires Lines Graphics. He was there. He does excellent work, by the way. Check them out on Facebook. Desires Lines Graphics. They do absolute work, brilliant work. And a few other people were there as well. And a load of wrestling fans actually from Dundee and the Dundee area went through to Glasgow to see the show, including myself and Shan. There was quite a few others that I knew were there as well. Obviously the ringside posse like Christine and John. I said we all went through there. They stayed over, but me and Sean couldn't afford to, unfortunately, the stage. But absolutely fantastic show, to be honest, in my opinion. It was what it is. Like I said, the matches were short and quite simple. A little bit more, maybe more simple than I thought there might be. When you talk about the talent involved, the James Storm, the Kurt Angle, the Christopher Daniels, etc. involved. But as I said, it was TV. It was TV timed. It was television filmed in segments. Like I said, the stop start was a little bit annoying to me. As I said, it's not something I'm used to. Normally, it's the show starts. To have a few of the like half of the matches, short intermission because it's a family show, it's Scottish Wrestling Entertainment. They normally have a short intermission about halfway through, just to allow the kids to go to the toilet, or the people to get drinks or refreshments, or obviously have a look at the merchandise stand, etc. But it was a little bit annoying sometimes, stop and start. But it was a really good show, to be honest. I enjoyed myself. I would certainly go back. And to be honest, as a wrestling fan, I thought just being able to go to the Hydro Arena and see guys. I mean, I was hoping, as I said, to see a few of these guys wrestle. Guys like Kurt Angle and Christopher Daniels and that. But to see a couple of them wrestle twice, like Kurt Angle, even Magnus, I mean, I'm not a huge fan of Magnus, but like I said, he's come a long way. I'm sure he's still got a long, long way to go. But to see these guys like Kurt Angle and Magnus and Abyss actually wrestle twice was fantastic. To be able to see these guys actually perform was one of the reasons why I went. Obviously, as I said, it was a Christmas gift from my mum, because my friend Shannon ended up having the spare ticket, because a friend dropped out, unfortunately, but it was fortunate for me. Overall, like I said, it was a good show. I absolutely enjoyed actually going to the show and, just as I said, relaxing, enjoying it for what it was. I think the crowd were really up for it. Scotland has always been a huge wrestling crowd, really up for it. They know their stuff. They're a passionate bunch. Us Scottish wrestling fans are a real passionate bunch when it comes to pro wrestling, knowledgeable about it. That's why companies like TNA and WWE, etc., they do tours and they do dates in Scotland, because it's a huge crowd. It was quite a full crowd. I don't think the Hydro was an absolute sellout. But it was a massive crowd. You see the pictures online. It was actually a big crowd, bigger crowds than I've actually seen for some of the TNA shows lately. And as I said, I'm looking forward to sitting down, seeing the finished program, both last night's and next week's. And I don't think I will be on air because the cameras really never came really close. Like I said, I was on the other side of the ring and I was like 5 rows back with people in front of me, of us. So I don't think you'll see a close up of me, thankfully. But as I said, overall it was enjoyable for what it was. TNA show. I said watch the second episode. Some of the storylines are furthered, and certainly I would think that a lot of people have been down on TNA, but honestly, in my eye, I do agree with what I don't know whether it's scripted or how free MVP was in his comments on the second episode when he addresses the fans and talks about the change that he wants to happen in the company. But I do honestly, and as I witnessed, TNA have a lot of talent that really could actually change the fortunes of the company around if they are actually allowed to wrestle decent sized matches. But as I said, it was a good event. I really enjoyed it. I'm going to put up the photo album on YouTube in the next couple of days. I'll even do it maybe later tonight because I've gone through them, picked out the choicest ones already, the best ones. Because obviously a couple came out a bit blurry, but I'm really happy with some of the pictures. Really happy with the TNA experience. If I had the money, because I know they're selling tickets, I think they said this Friday, but I don't know whether that means today or next week. But if I definitely had the money, to be honest, I would buy a ticket to go and see them again. Hopefully see some different people actually wrestling in the match. Bit of a pity I didn't get to see some of the guys I thought might be there, like Hernandez or Bobby Roode, never wrestled. But overall, happy with that. Really looking forward to, as I said, to seeing this on television. Overall, really enjoyable experience, and I hope the people tonight and the next couple of days on going to the TNA shows have fun, relax, enjoy it for what it is. And to be honest, in my opinion, I think you will enjoy it too.